Hello and welcome to our Mood of the Nation biannual survey, the India Today magazine survey, which is done for us by CVoter every January, February and the month of August. We bring you major voter trends, trackers to all the hot button issues of the day. It's been a dramatic 6-month period since we did our last Mood of the Nation, and therefore lots of attention and interest in what the poll will say this time. From Operation Sindoor to vote chori allegations to the tariff war with the United States, there's plenty to talk about, and we'll also tell you what would happen if elections were held today and the performance rating of the NDA and the opposition, and what could happen in the election-bound state. So the definitive Mood of the Nation tracker that's been going on India Today for the last 23 years is back, and we have plenty, as always, to talk about. Just to give you a sense of what the headlines are on the Mood of the Nation. What is the state of play if Lok Sabha elections were held today? Is Prime Minister Modi and the NDA still holding firm, or is the opposition India alliance inching forward? Also, what will happen in the election-bound states from Bihar to Tamil Nadu to Bengal? How is the Prime Minister's performance rating being seen by people in the backdrop of Operation Sindoor? Is Rahul Gandhi and the opposition catching on with their allegations of election theft? Those are just some of the headlines that we'll be looking at on the Mood of the Nation survey. But first, as we look at those headlines, let me tell you, over the next couple of hours, this 3-hour broadcast will have special guests joining us, and we will dissect every aspect of this CVoter Mood of the Nation poll. Joining us is Raj Chengappa, editorial director of India Today. He's the one who's bringing out the magazine that will be out there, and you'll see the cover in a moment. Also joining us, Yashwant Deshmukh of CVoter. He's the messenger, so if you want to shoot anyone and things have gone wrong, Yashwant is always ready. He's putting his numbers on the line. Maria Shakil, my colleague and senior editor, joins me. Welcome, Maria, to the Mood of the Nation for the first time. Gaurav Sawant, senior editor, and again someone who tracks all the developments, especially in the last few months with Operation Sindoor, is with us. Preeti Chaudhary, also with us. Welcome. Also joining us, Amitabh Tiwari. He's someone who's been polling and giving weekly updates on his website. And we're joined by Tuhin Sinha, BJP's national spokesperson, and Sanjay Jha, who is someone who's been associated with the Congress party. So lots of voices, and we'll come to all the big numbers on the Mood of the Nation in a moment. But first, to give you a sense of the methodology of this Mood of the Nation survey by India Today. The survey date, July 1st to August 14th, 2025. So effectively, it's been a pretty comprehensive period. Respondents, 54,788. All Lok Sabha segments across all states have been covered. 1,52,000 additional interviews from CVoter's regular tracker data analyzed. 2,06,826 respondents, therefore, have been considered in all for this MOTN poll. So without further ado, let's cut the chase and bring you all the big numbers today. First, of course, that big number. What would happen if Lok Sabha elections were held here in August of 2025? The projected vote share first. If Lok Sabha polls were held today, NDA, as it stands today, 47% is what the MOTN poll predicts. India Alliance, 41%, others 12%. Significantly, no change at all from February 2025 when we did our last tracker. It's almost as if the numbers are frozen in time despite the turbulence around us. In alliance terms, the projected seat share now, remember 543 Lok Sabha seats, NDA at 324. 324, still a firm majority, but down 19 compared to February of 2025. India Alliance 208, well behind but up 20 compared to February 2025 when we did our last mood of the nation. But the NDA is up compared to Lok Sabha when the actual elections were held last year, and the India alliance is slightly down. Others 11, that's down 1. Take a look at the party-wise projected vote share if Lok Sabha polls are held today. BJP 41%, that's no change in the BJP's support. It is a shade higher compared to Lok Sabha last year, but the same as our MOTN in February. Congress 21%, up 1% compared to February 2025. Others 38%, down 1. How does all this translate into party-wise? And these are important numbers too. BJP on its own 260, that's short of the halfway mark, much like Lok Sabha last year, down 21 compared to February of 2025. Congress 97, that's up 19 compared to February 2025, but still not crossing the 100 mark. So the significant gap remains between party number 1 and 2. Others 186, that's +2. So the big number, if elections are held today, the NDA would still get a comfortable majority. When I look at those numbers, Raj Chengappa, it almost seems as if very little has changed. I mean, your cover story could virtually be the same as it was 6-7 months ago.
Hardly, Rajdeep. Let's not forget, as you mentioned earlier, it's been one of the most tumultuous 3-4 months that's been there. You've had Donald Trump come as president for the second time, and he's wrecker-in-chief. He's destroyed the global order as we know it. And of course, unfortunately, India's been at the receiving end. When we thought we were good friends with Trump, we have a tariff war that is ongoing with him. We've had a major war with India, with Pakistan, the 6th India-Pakistan war under Mr. Modi's watch. And what the results are showing here is that despite all this tumult, the belief is that the BJP, the NDA, and Prime Minister Modi definitely is the one that can take us through this crisis at the moment. There is not much confidence being given to the opposition, despite the fact that they have plenty to chew with and attack the government. They haven't made the kind of inroads they should. And I believe there are a lot of caveats as well. While it does look good for the NDA in some senses, the BJP is still not, if you recall last time they had a full majority in our polls in February, though in the Lok Sabha they had 240 seats. They've increased to 260 if you look at the Lok Sabha, but down, as you said, 20 seats. And therefore there's a message in that despite the fact that you had a war, where normally you would see a bump for the ruling party, as we saw in Balakot, as well as after Uri, that hasn't happened. But there is a larger message that they still believe that Prime Minister Modi and the BJP is the best bet at the moment to take the country through and navigate these turbulent times.
Okay, let's turn to the messenger, Yashwant Deshmukh. Because effectively, when I look at these numbers, it seems really that we are frozen in time. Even in vote share, more or less identical compared to 6 months, even though there's a seat drop, and you may want to explain why that's happening. But you get a sense that for all the turbulence around us, tariffs, Operation Sindoor, not much has changed in terms of voter preferences. Am I right or wrong?
You are right to a large extent. And no, I'm not saying that you are wrong, but I just like to do some more patch up into there, what is missing out there. One thing which should have been working in favor of the NDA alliance did not work. That is Operation Sindoor. I'm talking about electorally speaking. Don't take anything else in that. One thing which should not have worked in their favor was Trump and Tariff. That has actually worked. So it's a kind of a weird situation. Just like Raj just mentioned, from the tracker data, I pulled out the numbers during the Balakot strike and like that, and I tried to compare the spike on two fronts. One, how big was the spike, Balakot versus Sindoor, and how long did it sustain? So the spike during the Balakot was almost about 15% in ratings and everything, and it sustained for almost about 4.5 months, While in the case of Operation Sindoor, the spike came only about 5%. It lasted hardly about 4.5 weeks. That's a big difference. During the Operation Sindoor tracker, we have discussed this. We have done a program here on India Today that after the ceasefire was announced, Rajdeep, there was a lot of disappointment among the public, and the bigger disappointment came from the masses who voted for the BJP or the Prime Minister's supporter. So the average BJP supporter was utterly disappointed with the way the ceasefires were abruptly called. They felt the task was not complete. Pakistan was not really given the right set of dose as they would have liked.
Yeah, but yet the same supporters are still voting as per your poll for Mr. Modi. Those who do not want Mr. Modi as Prime Minister or NDA are still voting for the Congress. There isn't much shift in voters. Am I right to say that or not?
Yeah, you are right. That's why it is important to understand that a BJP supporters or Modi supporters' disappointment doesn't mean that they are swinging and shifting lock, stock and barrel to the Congress and Rahul Gandhi's camp. That's the big difference. The baseline of the last 1 decade, Rajdeep, for any data person to understand is the difference of the baseline. The baseline of the Congress in the worst and whatever crisis in that it's about 20% nationally. The baseline of the BJP is now 40%. So it is a 1:2 kind of ratio in the baseline of these two parties. Similarly, when you talk about a 2-horse race between Modi and Rahul Gandhi, baseline of Rahul Gandhi is 25%, baseline of Modi is at 50%.
We'll come to those numbers.
So what I'm simply trying to say,
we'll come to the Rahul Modi numbers.
Organizationally speaking, the Congress, unless it improves the baseline, it will be very difficult to see the output change in terms of electoral context.
Okay, let's get more reactions. Opening remarks, your first points. Preeti, you want to go?
Well, you know, Rajdeep, my first point is that wasn't your phone inundated with messages that when is the mood of the nation coming in? I just want to take a minute, Rajdeep, and tell our viewers. This is Mood of the Nation in its 46th year, and usually it happens right after the 15th of August, Independence Day. And Rajdeep, last 1 week, at least my phone has been inundated with messages that when is India Today conducting the Mood of the Nation? One quick point.
My phone isn't, because I don't think people believe the pollsters as much as they want this, but go ahead.
But just one quick point, because I want to juxtapose these numbers to Lok Sabha results as well, 2024. And if you actually look at the two alliances there, which is the NDA alliance and the India alliance, the gap has actually narrowed down by 1%. From 7%, what it was in 2024, it's narrowed down to about 6% this time. So is that status quo? Or, you know, the gap coming down to 6% in just a year, is that significant?
What's your sense? Is it status quoist or not? This poll is showing little has changed in the last 1 year.
You know, but flip it around. Look at 324 on the screen where the NDA is, right? If you juxtapose this number to the numbers of the Lok Sabha, you can actually see a huge jump in seats. So while the gap might have come down between the NDA and the India alliance, you juxtapose the Lok Sabha numbers, which was, I think, 293 where the NDA alliance was, and now it's at 324. So that's jumped. So it's interesting. All I'm saying is there is a dichotomy here. The vote percentage gap has narrowed down, but the seats for the NDA
We will try and get that explained by Yashwant in a moment, but yes, go ahead, Gaurav.
Look, I think Narendra Modi is well and truly in control, firmly in the saddle, and these numbers show that. Despite that wrecker-in-chief trying to put India down, India hasn't been put down. And that he's been able to rally the country around him, if this is what the mood of the nation does clearly indicate.
Who's wrecker-in-chief?
Wrecker-in-chief is Donald Trump. So wrecker-in-chief is Donald Trump.
The wrecker-in-chief changes. 1 year ago, it was supposedly Rahul Gandhi. Then it became General Asim Munir. Now it's Donald Trump. But go ahead, Gaurav.
So, and in all of that, so all the wreckers-in-chief, if they're trying to target Narendra Modi, they have all failed. Asim Munir failed. So narrative battle when it comes to Operation Sindoor, sure the BJP or the government may have failed in the narrative battle, but on ground, Operation Sindoor has been the biggest response to Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror. And in the long run, perhaps, you know, that is why, despite being in power for 11 years, despite all that's happening, the challenges from Donald Trump, Asim Munir's terror, economy, unemployment, everything, they still remain at 47%. And the Congress still remains at 41%. And the baseline difference is 20% and 40% between Modi and Rahul Gandhi.
So there is a wide gap. Maria, your first comments.
Rajdeep, the question that I want to understand now is that has nationalism perhaps peaked and reached its threshold? If there's no surge per se. In the last 6 months, there have been two events. We have been speaking about Operation Sindoor, but let's not forget that the same Modi government was expecting that there will be some kind of consolidation of the middle class post that announcement in the budget, which was essentially about the income tax cuts. So on the governance front, they were hoping that that will lead to some kind of surge. That is not reflecting right now. And similarly, what is not reflecting is that surge that we saw post Balakot and also post surgical strikes.
You know, Yashwant, very quickly before I go to the other guests, just explain for us. The fact is, in your polls, the BJP is down 21 seats. But in terms of vote share, it's almost identical to 6 months ago. The Congress is up only 1% in terms of vote share. But in terms of seats, you've given them 19 seats more compared to last time. So explain this dichotomy of seats and vote percentage very quickly.
Yashwant to 24, Lok Sabha as well.
Very quickly, Rajdeep, that when you look at the NDA vote share, please remember the last time we took the poll, AIADMK was not really part of the NDA alliance. Now that number has been included in the NDA alliance. So obviously very marginal, but Tamil Nadu is a big state. You know, and BJP on its own is a marginal player, has been there over there. AIADMK coming into is increasing the vote share. So that is why you are not looking much change in the NDA vote share, which actually without AIADMK has slightly dropped.
So why are the BJP seats going down?
Because without the AIADMK, the national vote share is actually going down slightly.
No, but the BJP's own vote share is almost identical.
That's fine. That's
so
fine.
Why are their seats going down?
Their seats are going down in particularly the states where they got a huge jump right after the assembly election, particularly in the case of Maharashtra. That's the biggest difference. Between Lok Sabha and the January MOTN, Maharashtra sweep contributed to the big jump of NDA numbers in the MOTN that was carried out in January, February. And between January, February and now, it is the same thing which has leveraged out. So Maharashtra numbers are down. Rajasthan numbers for Congress have gone up. BJP's number have come down from the January now. So these numbers have kind of... And by the way, UP remains a saga. UP still remains problem.
We will come to specific
One
states
quick
in a
question
moment.
can I ask, Yashwant? That 1% increase that you show in the India Alliance, is it because of the Congress or regional parties?
It's largely because of the Congress.
And what about the Rashtravad sentiment?
The Rashtravad sentiment, that was a wonderful point to actually analyze, that is, Maria, because I believe that Rashtravad sentiment is not something which will keep on going up and up and up. The problem with the Rashtravad sentiment is that at some point of time it goes down as well. But the way we have been tracking MOTN and the numbers, I feel the Indian politics and electoral scenario is now in a situation where a threshold or minimum level of Rashtravad sentiment is there, and that is going to remain there no matter who is coming to power.
I think that's an important point. Just a minute. The threshold levels of the two major parties, I think, have been more or less sustained over MOTN now over an extended period of time. I think that's an important point to note. The Congress has never crossed, for example, in an MOTN in the last several years, 25%. And the BJP has never dipped below 35%. The one blip was during COVID 2.0, but beyond that, we haven't seen that major blip. Mr. Modi, in that sense, as the cover story suggests, is holding firm.